Another week, another episode. Now, thank you for tuning in, and please do consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Now, today's episode is a very special one for me because we have a very special guest on the episode. He's a former player, now a current coach. Originally from London, he now resides in Los Angeles, California, coaching the football aspirants over there. He's a lifelong Chelsea fan. He also has his own platform along with a fellow Blue called Simon Phillips, where together they bring weekly podcast articles and, most importantly, player transfer exclusives. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Dan McCarthy to the Matchball podcast. Hello, Dan, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? Yeah, thank you for having me on. Very excited to finally get on your platform here. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. It's funny that just a Twitter conversation has led us to being here and recording. So it's my pleasure as well to have you on. Now, first things first. You were at the game last night. You were at Stamford Bridge. First half was very good. You saw Romelu Lukaku score and celebrate a few meters away from you, and then
hmm
the second half did not go as per plan. What are your first of all initial reactions? I know you must have had a proper reaction inside, but what were your honest thoughts about the game last night?
Yeah, no, I was at the game last night, as you said, sitting in the shed lower, and yeah, we looked. I tweeted it myself last night. We looked very tired, even from the start. You know, players looked very leggy, very tired. Extra touches, loose touches on the ball. We look like a team that is just ticking the boxes and playing because we have to be there rather than a fit and firing fast Thomas Tuchel team. So it was, you know, it looked like one of them nights where we could have drawn or lost the game to start the game, and then obviously special players produce special moments, and Romelu Lukaku obviously popped up with a goal to put us 1-0 up, which was great, fantastic. But yeah, as the game went on, Brighton gained more of a control of the game. They possessed the ball very well. Basuma, especially in the midfield, in the centre, played very well. He was, controlling the game, and Brighton's confidence grew. Ours dropped. Their energy levels raised. Ours dropped again, and it felt like inevitably, eventually, they would equalise, and they did. In the obviously, right at the end there with Danny Welbeck, and yeah, I think it was deserved. To be honest, Ryan, I think it was deserved. I think 1-1 was probably fair. However, when you're winning the game and you give away the points, it's obviously very frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean, the result is one thing, but there is a whole lot that goes uh, below the result. I mean, 1-1 did not necessarily show how we were underwhelming or how the some of the referees' decisions did not go in our favor. And what do you think about that? I mean, I've never seen Tuchel so agitated after the match, and especially not necessarily name dropping, but he was very clear. He was talking about the referee. I've never seen him that agitated. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I only saw his interview this morning, but I read last night that he was obviously very infuriating, right? Perhaps the most he's ever been, as you said there. Yeah, my thing was I don't like to blame the referee because it's obviously a very difficult job, and it's easy, right? However, he was poor in the stadium last night. A lot of people were getting onto him, especially the Chelsea fans, because it seemed biased. A lot of decisions went against Chelsea. A lot. We racked up £14 compared to their seven, which tells you all you need to know. In terms of key moments, I was glad the goal was allowed. Obviously, Lukaku, there was no foul there, so I was glad that was allowed. However, just very minimal fouls, minimal contact being called. He was whistling everything. It got very tedious. The game didn't have a flow to it. In terms of the actual moments at the time, the Pulisic moment, the penalty, and then Mason Mount's disallowed goal, they were down the other end to me, so they were hard to see in
Right,
person.
right.
However, now I've seen the video. Yeah, no, I wish I didn't see the video of the Callum
And
Hudson-Odoi
that
pass.
handball, yeah. I was just going to come to that.
Yeah, I wish I never saw that. At the time, I just thought it was a poor decision from Callum. I thought Callum should have gone on his own and shot himself. However, now I've seen it back. Yeah, I wish I didn't. I actually haven't seen the Mason Mount one back yet, where he allegedly pushed the player over. I haven't seen that yet, but I have seen the Pulisic penalty shout, which Thomas Tuchel said it was 100% a penalty. I can understand why he feels very strongly about it. I can see why he's frustrated. I've seen those given. I've seen penalties given for that. The fact that it wasn't even checked is alarming. So yeah, I can understand why Thomas Tuchel is furious. And yeah, Mike Dean didn't have his best game yesterday. I just don't think Mike Dean likes Chelsea, to be honest with you.
And it doesn't work well in our favor that I think on 2nd Jan Anthony Taylor is the referee for Chelsea Liverpool. I'm not too sure about it. I read it somewhere. I'm not sure about it, so don't quote me on it. But if that's the case, you know how it might play for us.
Yeah, that's not going to be great for us. Yeah, no.
It's not going to be great, right? And I mean, I think I read a tweet from Liam that the whole point of VAR is that you pick on the moments that the referee and the players and the human eye missed. I mean, I remember our goal against Atletico Madrid in the first leg. So initially it was an offside, and but still VAR checked on it, and then you realize that the touch actually came from an Atletico player, which Giroud capitalized on.
Yes, yeah, the overhead kick, yeah, in the Champions League, yeah. No, that's what it's supposed to be, like you say. That's what it's supposed to be for. And moments such as the handball, which we've now seen, right? Callum Hudson-Lewis pass to Mason Mount. That's something that should be fixed. Um, the Pulisic, well, Mike Dean didn't have an opportunity to look at it. He should at least have that opportunity to see it. He didn't. And then the Mason Mount one, he blew the whistle before it even went in the back of the net, which which takes away the opportunity to look at it. Mike D should know better to let that go in and then address it after. He didn't do that. So yeah, there was 3 or 4 moments in the game that were not, refereed correctly within the rules, the current rules of the game, which are ambiguous and poor as it is. However, yeah, no, it wasn't a great refereeing performance, and Chelsea can, I will say there were a lot of moments that went against us and we were unlucky. However, I do think the result in general was a fair result if I'm just a football fan looking at
Right,
it.
right. And if you look at it in the past 18 games, I think we've only lost once against West Ham. And I mean, if a draw is looked upon so negatively as a loss, it kind of shows the standard that Tuchel has set him since he came and took over, right?
Hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. We're not. What's good is you could argue when you're playing poorly and you're still getting a point every game. That's a small positive to take away from this. I think in previous times we would have lost these games. We would have found it hard to even get a goal or not
Right,
concede more than one.
right,
Whereas now we're taking away at least a point. However, after you win the Champions League and do so well, you don't want to be holding on for draws, not losses. You want to be winning then games. And we've had a few where we've scraped the barrel and won against Watford, I remember. We didn't probably deserve it. However, we've been picked back a lot in the last few games. And we're not losing games, but at the end of the day, we have to, if we want to win a league title, we have to win games.
right. And the draws result in us dropping points, so that also does not work in our favor. And I think last night's injury blows were more impactful than expected. I mean, Reece James, first of all, starting at left wing back was, I think, a tactical decision by Tuchel, and then to get injured. I mean, that kind of blows up. It kind of summarizes that we have to have some business in January.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, we are struggling, especially in the wing back positions, right? We are struggling with players. Obviously, we're looking at Lucas Digne, as we now know, and a couple of others. Emerson, we inquired to get him back on loan, which we now know, and that is not going to happen.
Right,
Ian Martin from Coventry, who's on loan, the young kid, he won't be coming back. So it looks like Lucas Digne is going to be the number one target to get. But yeah, we definitely need reinforcements because we are dropping like flies. The title challenge, I mean, you can argue that's been and gone. I don't think it's been and gone yet. I think it's too early. However, I've always said City would win the league this year. We were always going for second or third. But yeah, in terms of if we're going to even, maintain our top 4 challenge and make sure we make the top 4, which I think we will, we definitely need 1 or 2 reinforcers because our squad is absolutely depleted at this point.
right. The COVID and the injuries, and they have not actually particularly helped us in continuing with a title challenge. Like Tuchel said yesterday, it's stupid to even think that we're in the contention right now. But like you said, there are still 19 more games to be played, 18, 19 games to be played. So there are 50 plus points up for grabs. So you never know what can happen. Now, we mentioned about Luka Digne. I had a question. Let's say hypothetically Everton decide that they don't want to release Luka Digne. They only want a permanent deal, and we only want a loan move, and that does not happen. I had a name in mind. Do you think Chelsea could target someone like Rafael Guerrero, who plays for Dortmund, given that he has also played under Tuchel? You think that might be a possibility?
I like the player. I think he's a good player. I see what you've done with the link, obviously, to Tuchel and Dortmund. I don't think Chelsea will go for him because I don't think Dortmund will let him go. I think there's still, you know, the expression, right, sour grapes. I still think there's, a little bit of animosity between Chelsea and Dortmund because of the whole Erling Haaland saga and how that went around. So I don't think Chelsea and Dortmund will be doing any business um, this window in January for sure. In the summer, unless you're looking at Callum Hudson-Odoi maybe going over there, which I don't think will happen. Yeah, I don't see us doing business with Dortmund, to be honest, from what I've seen and known. However, I like Guerrero as a player. I know there's been other names such as Tagliafico, right, from Ajax, who I
Right,
find
right.
find unlikely. So yeah, I think Digne is definitely the number one target.
There were also some rumors about Serginho Dest from Barcelona to Chelsea, or were they just general rumors and
Yeah,
nothing
so
substantive?
Chelsea kind of looked into it because he's a player that can play left side, right side. He can play numerous positions, right? There's the American obviously link there, which we have with Christian Pulisic. So I think Chelsea have looked into it. I'm not a fan of the player personally. I don't think he's what Chelsea want and need. That's my personal opinion. However, yeah, Chelsea are open. Chelsea are open to different options. They're looking, they're exploring different things. With that said, we do know that the furthest developed saga right now in that position is definitely Luka Digne. But again, Chelsea want a loan deal. Everton want a permanent deal. We got to see what happens.
Right, right. And we don't want a situation where we wait until the deadline day to scrap a deal and then unnecessarily get, get fisted, so to speak. The way we got fisted with Kepa Arrizabalaga, literally we had to pay money because Courtois left so late. So we would definitely not want a situation like that. I had a question
Definitely.
on the other side of the pitch. So we've seen Pulisic play in the right wing back position, and it's not been his greatest performance. Do you think that right wing back would be a position for us to prioritize? Because right now our options are only Pulisic and Aspilicueta. Do you think we should prioritize that in January?
I think if you've got money available and resources available, you should. However, I don't know if Chelsea have that right now. I mean, we just posted 145 million pounds worth of losses, which is our worst financial year ever, I believe. So money's not exactly there is money available, but not loads of it. So I think Chelsea will see left wing back as more of a priority, or maybe even centre midfield before they would look at the right side. I personally still think we should try Callum Hudson-Odoi there. I think he deserves another go there, and I think we should move Pulisic further up the field. I think the experiment with Christian Pulisic playing right wing back should be over now. He's done okay, but it's not his position. I think Callum is actually probably better suited to play there for now, and then move Christian to where Callum is. So them two should just do a swap. That's my personal opinion again. Like I said, if Chelsea had more money available and more time, then maybe we would look at right wing back. But I definitely think it comes third to centre midfield and left wing back for now.
Yeah, and like you said, Pulisic probably has the more attacking intent, and Hudson-Odoi is uh, more. He can defend better than Pulisic, so to speak. So it will be better to maybe experiment with a straight swap and see how he functions further up ahead. Now you mentioned central midfield. Now, given this mini injury crisis that we have, it's difficult for Chelsea fans to be optimistic about midfield business happening in January. But given that we do need a central midfielder right now, despite having three of probably the best midfielders in the world, few of the best in the world, can we be a little bit optimistic about some development happening in January of the central midfield position?
I think if we make something happen in January, it won't be for the player coming in January. I think it'll be a deal agreed upon in January for them to come in the summer. Essentially like a Schumann. I think if we were to agree a deal with him, he wouldn't come immediately. I think he would come at the end of the season. I think in an ideal world we get him immediately, but I just don't think Monaco will allow that to happen.
Right, right.
I mean, we definitely won't be signing. We definitely won't be signing Declan Rice in January. Obviously, that's for sure. And at all in the summer either. So yeah, I definitely think whilst we could get a deal done in January, it won't be for that player playing in Chelsea blue in January. It'll be for the summer.
Okay. I mean, between Chouameni and Declan Rice, who would you prefer for us to have?
Declan Rice.
I mean, I can understand that, but I think West Ham are being too greedy with the valuation. I think that is the one of the biggest problems for us, and we've had major signing in form of Lukaku this season. So I don't think we'll shell out that much of money for him. not in the summer, and not in Jan, and definitely not in the summer.
Yeah, no. West Ham want a lot of money for him, which I understand because he is their best player. He's their captain. He's arguably one of the best players in the Premier League right now.
Right, right.
He's only going to get better. Right, he's still very young. With that said, he's also a London rival. Chelsea and West Ham don't love doing business. I know they did business obviously with Kurt Zuma, but that made sense for both parties. This doesn't make sense for both parties because West Ham don't want to lose him. West Ham will definitely charge Chelsea more than they would any other club. And we just obviously recorded my own podcast, as you know, before this morning here in the UK, and I said on there that I'd be surprised if Chelsea ever got Declan Rice just because of the fact that West Ham will ask so much money for him. I don't think Chelsea will pay it, and I think they'll sell to another club for less money anyway, but enough for them to be satisfied. So.
Right, right. And I think our board doesn't necessarily sign back players who we have released in the past, be it in the form of academy or in the senior team. So I can understand where you are coming from. I don't think Rice to Chelsea, as optimistically as we want it to happen, won't happen in the real world. Right. So we have a fair bit of January business lined up ahead. I'm very optimistic that at least we can sign Luca Digne. I want that signing to happen because having Marcos Alonso as the only option at left wing back is a very scary thought. I mean, with that, the round of 16 tie against Lille becomes a final for us. It's that scary of a thought. Right. So now I want to shift the attention away from the pitch and onto you. Now, I want to ask you, can you give me a brief origin story about how you started getting into this world of coaching, and you were a former player yourself and now you're a coach, and how have you decided leaving London and then going to Los Angeles? How did that journey go through?
Yeah, I played a lot, obviously, like every kid. Started playing very, very young in and out of academies and stuff here locally. And then when I was released from all that academy stuff, I decided to move to America to play football, soccer over here. I've been in LA now for 7 years, and I've coached 5, 6 of those years. I did my studies out here as well, so I did university out here, graduated with a degree in business management over here, and I've just been coaching full time really ever since. In terms of the playing, I don't play much anymore, to be honest. I was always very intrigued by the coaching side of the game. Even when I was playing, I always was very intrigued in coaching. I started coaching very young, part time, when I was 16. So I've always been very interested in it, and I actually prefer coaching to playing, to be honest with you. I've always enjoyed the game itself. I've always been involved in the game, whether it's playing, coaching, analysing, whatever, or as a fan. But yeah, full-time coaching is definitely where I find myself most of the time now.
And why the United States? I mean, you did not want to try anything in Europe?
Yeah, I've always been very intrigued by the United States. Even as a young kid, I've been a big basketball fan, Laker fan, since I was very young. So I was always very intrigued by that. And then when the opportunity came up to go to the States, as a teenager, I was very excited about that. Especially for education purposes in terms of going to university, and having the opportunity to get that paid for. So yeah, that was probably the biggest thing. And then I've always been very intrigued about Los Angeles. So when I was finally able to land here and have the opportunity to do so, it was too good to be true. And I was already thinking about more than playing. I was thinking about coaching. I was thinking about education. So yeah, when that all happened in LA, it all landed nicely, and I've just been here ever since.
Fantastic. And I mean, this is such a nice story for you to have. Like usually kids at your age when you started coaching want to play more, and you were more intrigued by the technical tactical side of things. So that's a very nice thing to know about you. And how did you get into this? I mean, how did the Chelsea affiliation start? What made you fall in love with Chelsea?
So Chelsea would be my dad, or my whole family really at Chelsea. Grew up obviously being a Chelsea fan, going to lots of Chelsea games, being involved in Chelsea as well, playing. Chelsea's always just been in my life, always. Didn't know anything different, didn't have another choice really, to be honest. And then, when you kind of meet and play with certain people, meet people, you start building them connections. And you stay in touch with people, build relationships. And if you're smart, you're a good person, you keep those relationships. And yeah, you just build them up over the years, and then obviously now I'm on Chelsea Twitter, which I'm sure you're about to ask me about
I
now.
was just coming to that. I was just gonna ask you about that. Like, how did that also happen? What made you become
Yeah,
such an
so
integral part of Chelsea Twitter?
yeah, no, it's very kind. So on Twitter, just as a normal, person as we all are, right? At the top, very early as a teenager, um, I never really knew what football Twitter was, to be honest. And then a few years later, I kind of got back into Twitter a bit more often, should we say? Built a good relationship with Simon, obviously Phillips, who I've known for a long time, who's been doing it for a long time. He's been, smashing it for a few years now, and he was always, always wanted to. We always wanted to work together. We did a little bit very early on for the Chelsea Echo, which is something that he created a long time ago. I believe it's still going under Louis Beneventi now. So he created that. I got involved with him there, did some work with him there, and then eventually we kind of said he moved on to his own thing. I kind of stepped away from it, but we always said eventually we'd work together again. And then he reached out and kind of said, "Hey, let's get this going, but you're gonna have to kind of build your profile, build your connections, your relationships." He already knew I had connections and relationships in my time in England, time with Chelsea or at Chelsea, etc. So obviously we could use those to our advantage, and yeah, so we just kind of got back together, started discussing what we wanted to do, and we created obviously originally Phillips Talks Chelsea, which was then renamed to Dan Talks Chelsea, and we've just been doing that ever since. And yeah, you've seen me on Twitter ever since then.
Yep, yep. You've been crushing it. You've not just been doing it. You've been crushing it ever since you started that.
Thank you.
Right. So you're known for your player exclusive, and you come up with small. Whenever you release a player exclusive, your tweet is only one or two words and an emoji. You don't necessarily get into the nitty gritty of it and give a lot of it away. Now, before you tweet this, how do you ensure, or how are you certain that any source which tells you this is genuine without revealing your trade secret, of course?
Yeah, no, it's difficult. Everyone gets burned once in a while. It's happened to me. It's happened to others. It happens. That's partly the reason why I don't include or express too many details because of things like that. However, you do have your obviously certain relationships, connections, contacts that you go to for a lot of things. Not everything's always gospel crystal clear because it's difficult. It's ambiguous, right? Things can change. I could talk to someone now, and in an hour's time, it's changed. One person will tell me one thing, one person will say another. For example, I'll hear one thing and Simon's heard the complete opposite, and then that happens a lot. So then I won't put anything out. If it's conflicting, it's two different places, two different things. I won't put really anything out. If I put anything out, I have to be pretty confident in it. But again, it's very hard to be 100% on most things. Um, so yeah, you just kind of have your same people that you go to, your trustworthy people, and then you get a lot of people who reach out to you and say, "Oh, I know this, and I've heard this," and you kind of test them, and you kind of see if they are legit. Most of them are not, unfortunately, but some will be, because everyone sees it as an opportunity. Everyone sees it as a quick fix to fame, which I don't. I don't really. That doesn't really bother me at all. But yeah, so you just kind of build those relationships. But in terms of what you share and what you can't share, it's very difficult. It's very tedious because you don't want to give too much away. Sometimes you're told not to give much away, and you don't want to say too much because you don't want to lose your source.
Right, right,
So that's why some people get frustrated, right, and say, "Well, give us more. Tell us the truth. Why can't you give us more?" It's not because I don't want to. It's because I'm not allowed
right,
to,
right, right.
or I can't yet because there's more to it, or the source has said they can't give away their sources. They can't give away their contacts. So it's very difficult. It can be ambiguous and treacherous at times, but it's all good fun.
And I think football Twitter is always ruthless when things don't go according to your plan, and then they are always there waiting for you to fail, somehow hoping for you to fail, and then they can come all guns blazing at you. But I think more times than other, you have had tremendous success in predicting and not predicting, basically letting us know about deals before they actually happen. And there are other people on the platform. There's Fabrizio, who everyone follows, and so I mean, what made me appeal? What I mean, your tweets appealed to me because they were before whenever he put out something, and I did not like how people who were the non-believers became believers because Fabrizio said so. That was one thing I did not like about that, and so that's why my allegiance is always with you when it comes to Chelsea news. Be it anyone, be it anywhere, it's always going to be. I will rather than a here we go. I'll prefer a Dan deal, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I love it, my friend. I love it. Yeah, no, it is. That's a good one. That's a good one that you said there. When the disbelievers become believers is a good one. And yeah, there's been a few times where you've got there early, and Fabrizio, who I know and speak to, is obviously a great guy. And when he confirms things, he's seen as the goat, right?
Right,
For
right,
for good reason. He's incredible. His work rate is incredible. His connections are fantastic. When he confirms it, you feel good. Obviously, Simon is obviously a big account on there as well, who confirms things a lot. It's Matt Law,
right,
others.
right.
There's so many people doing great work for Chelsea. I don't see it as a competition. I see it as everybody doing their part for the community, which is great. Yeah, it is nice when things are confirmed. Obviously, the obsession with a lot of people is to be first, and that's great. There's been loads of times when we've had the news and we haven't shared it, and then it's been shared and we've sat there and gone, "But why didn't we just do it?" Because you do risk the wrath of Twitter, you do risk the wrath of sources. You don't want to lose them connections. Twitter is a small part of it in the grand
Right,
scheme of things.
right, right.
That's just a place that you share it. But yeah, there's been those moments, but there's also been moments where maybe we've jumped too early and then things have changed. And that's worse. So you don't want to do that. So yeah, no, it's an interesting game. But I'd rather be right than first, is what I always kind of say. I'd rather be, correct than first. And if that means I'm second or third, and you get people saying you just copied him or them, then it is what it is. What it is.
Yeah, it's like the whatever you do, it's like Twitter is a press conference for everything, and whatever goes behind the scenes, you can't reveal too much to the media, which is us people following you. So it must be hard for you to restrict yourself or not necessarily reveal something too much, like you said, at the risk of losing your sources.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's why it's difficult. And Twitter's, it's not an official professional platform, right? So you're not
Right,
writing an
right,
article on it. I know we have our platform, and that's as professional as it can be. But in terms of, it's not an official newspaper, an official, outlet. So it's
right.
difficult. And even those are speculating and trying to put the pieces together and put two and two together, which is what football journalism is. I use the term journalism loosely with us. However, it is difficult, but it's what a lot of people have careers on, make money on. A lot of people are connected to Chelsea because of that. But yeah, in terms of detail specifics, there's definitely a lot easier teams and clubs to work on and be included in than Chelsea. Chelsea are very good at, masking that, not letting
Right,
a lot come out. Leaks are difficult. So yeah, it could
right.
be easier, but again, it's a team we all know and love and invested in. So that's
Yeah,
why we do it.
that is why we have the best director in Europe at our club. So it's almost fair
There you
that
go.
we do things differently and make sure that it's the best way to do things. Right. So
Absolutely.
before we come to the conclusion of this episode, in a few days' time, we have the big match, Chelsea versus Liverpool at Stamford Bridge. Huge title, huge, not necessarily the title decider, but a race for second place at least. How do you see that match going? What do you think would happen?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're looking at the stats and all the figures and facts and figures right now, excuse me, you would see and expect probably Liverpool to come out against us firing. Right, they just lost, so they're going to be very, very keen to put that right. They're going to be somewhat quote unquote angry. So they're going to come out firing. They've got Salah staying. They've got Mane staying until that game. Obviously, and going off to the Africa Cup of Nations, we'll have Mendy. So yeah, everything points to, and obviously Chelsea's injuries, especially at fullback. You're going to have Alonso, Aspi, Pulisic, who knows yet, playing against Mane and Salah. It doesn't look good. So you wouldn't be crazy to suggest a Liverpool win. With that said, I think Chelsea are a club who often do well in hard times with backs against the wall. We've been known to. It doesn't really make sense, but we've been known to do stranger things. So I'll be at the game. I'm going to the game, so I want to be naturally optimistic because of that. But I've seen crazier things, and Chelsea, come out and win that game. I mean, we drew 1-1 obviously earlier in the year against them,
Right,
and
right,
we were unlucky. We were unlucky not to win that game, albeit the red card. So we've shown we can compete against them. Yes, we were a lot more fit and firing and healthy then.
right, right,
However, Thomas Tuchel is a fantastic coach. If there's anybody that can figure it out, it'll be him.
right, right.
I think it'll be a good. I think it'll be a cagey game. I don't think it'll be open. I don't think it'll be back and forth transitional game. I think it'll be cagey. I think it'll be tight unless Liverpool score early. I predicted on our podcast a 1-0 win with a Lukaku goal. I'm going to stick with it. just because I think backs against the wall, Tuchel's the man that can do it. Why not? However, you can't argue if Liverpool do win because of everything that's going against us. But I'd like to be optimistic.
Right, right. You'll be in the same spot watching Lukaku score the header once again.
So I was in the shed lower for that game. I'll actually be in the Matthew Harding upper for this game. So I'll be the opposite end up top. So I won't be as close as I was last night, unfortunately, when I was, with Lukaku, Mason Mount, and Reece James, especially when they were taking corners. But I'll be close enough, hopefully, to see Lukaku score a goal. That'd be nice, and hopefully win this time.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Like I don't do predictions because I stopped predicting our Champions League run in 2021 and we won the competition. So I decided I'll never do another Chelsea prediction ever again. When anyone asks me
Love it.
how the result would be, I always say we'll have more than 500 passes and more than 50% possession. That's all I say.
There you go. There you go. Unfortunately, we didn't have that last night. We had 48% of the ball last night. So you're probably right, and not doing predictions. That's probably a good idea. And I should probably stop doing them too.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it works for some, it doesn't work for some.
Right. Right.
Right. So that is all from me today. Thank you, Dan, so much for taking the time out and joining me on this podcast. It took a while for you to be here, but I'm very, very happy that you made it.
Yeah. No. Sorry again. Apologies for all the delays and everything. I'm just really happy to have made it on finally. Obviously, appreciate your support and all your kindness on Twitter. I'm sure we'll connect on there as we do.
Of course.
And yeah, I'm happy to come on anytime. Really, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yep, yep. Thank you so much. So all the links to Dan and all the socials, Sai and Dan Talk Chelsea, all of that will be in the description for you all to follow. Please do consider following them. And if you've made it this far in the episode, please do consider subscribing to this channel as well. Leave a like, leave a comment. Any feedback is appreciated. Right, so that's it for this episode. I'll be releasing this in the next year. So wishing all our listeners a very, very happy new year. If you've made it this far, thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Good night. Goodbye.